Good morning. I hope you're having a great morning. I hope you had a good weekend. I think I did. I pretty much watched football and on patrol live all weekend, most of the weekend. That's mostly all I did, right? Oh, I visited with some friends and stuff too. I caught up with a couple of friends by way of phone, so that was good. Anyway, I do hope you had a good weekend and I hope you have a great start to your Monday. Man, there's a lot of stuff going on. The weather's getting nice. I got a busy week this week. So what's new, right? It's always busy around here. I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes, right? We all get locked into that busyness, right? Not business, but busyness, right? So anyway, so this morning, been up quite a while actually. Um, Here's where I landed. I won't give you a bunch of backstory. I'll just tell you where I landed this morning, right? I landed in Psalm 34. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Now, this was written by David, and it was a time where Abimelech was coming to get him, and he acted like he was crazy, like he was like he had really lost his mind, and then he was the king said, "Don't bring that crazy man in here. He's lost his freaking mind, right, or whatever." So he got out of that situation. But after he's after he was in that really hard situation, that really difficult place, he started out this psalm, this series of thoughts with, "I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth." Now, my title today is, Can we do that? Can I do that? Can we even do that? Would it be possible to just bless God all the time? Is it possible to just let His praise be in our mouth? Now, I'll have to say, I have not mastered this. That's not the first thing that comes out of my mouth when something breaks, right? Or something doesn't work right, or a client calls, or I get interrupted while I'm working on a big project, or Chris needs something all of a sudden and it disrupts my day. I have to admit that I'm not the best yet at just praising God. Now, I am get one thing I am learning to do, and maybe this will help you a little bit, is I am learning to just give thanks for everything, right? And not the bad stuff. Here's it's taking some work, and it's still taking some work. But like the other night, we had a really long night. Chris was sick last week. He's doing really good. Pray he stays well. He's supposed to start therapy Thursday. Pray I make some money because I got to pay for it. But and that's good. But anyway, and so but it had been a long night. He'd been sick last week. He was sick. Y'all, most of y'all know that if you follow his page, his group, or whatever. And so I got up early, like five or so. I hadn't had much sleep anyway, and I go in and I kissed him on the forehead, which he hates, but I'm a mom, and so I kissed him on the forehead, and just without even having to think, I said, "God, thank you for getting us through this long night." And so as started practicing Thanksgiving, and I've started practicing finding things, and some days it's really easy and some days it's really hard, but finding things to thank God for it comes easier. So I have to guess, based on that experience, that as I start to purposefully bless God all the time, all the times, then and let his praise be continually in my mouth, and when I focus on that, it should become easier too, just like Thanksgiving, just like gratitude starts to get easier. It becomes more natural. Now that doesn't mean I've mastered it. I still gripe sometimes in between, but I'm working on that, right? But I actually didn't focus on stopping the complaining. I focused on finding things to be thankful for, and it had the effect of slowing down the complaining. I have not mastered it yet. Working on it. But as I was reading this morning and I was thinking about these things, I thought of this other scripture in Philippians 2:14. Listen to this. This is rough. I can't believe this is in the Bible. Do all things without complaining and disputing. Is that even possible? Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in this world, holding fast the true word of life. Do everything, all things without complaining? I have to say I definitely have not mastered that. However, can we? Can't we? I think it has become so much a part of our culture to complain. And early on in my caregiving journey, I was really down at first. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a house. I got that first apartment. I was in that first apartment that I got after I brought Chris back to Oklahoma. I was in that first insy bitty tiny little apartment that I got Section 8 for, and had a whole bunch of food stamps, and we were going to make it. But I didn't have an income yet. I didn't even have his SSI yet. It was about the time that was starting and all. But anyway, and I was in a pinch. And I found this little saying. It wasn't even a Christian saying, but it was, tears will get you sympathy, sweat will get you success. And I made that my mantra. I wrote it down. I had it on a sticky on my computer. I wrote it on paper. I memorized that. And when I started wanting to just sit down and cry, which is okay to do now and then, right? You want that emotional release. It's not all bad. But when I wanted to just cry and wish somebody could just come help me get out of this horrible situation I had found myself in and all that, I would say, tears will get you sympathy. Well, sympathy doesn't bring success, right? Sympathy brings sympathy. It may bring a little help now and then. Somebody, a lot of times people are compassionate toward a situation such as mine, and they want to help. And so for several Thanksgivings, I had people bring huge baskets of food because they were moved with compassion and they wanted to do something, right? And so sometimes those things come, but you're not going to get true success from sympathy. You can get true success from working. And so it just means, hey, if I'm in a bind, roll up those sleeves. Complaining won't make it any better, right? Complaining, but however, when I'm blessing God and finding things to be thankful for, I can get up this morning and go, I'm thankful my lights are on. I don't know if I can pay it this month, and I'm just thinking, I know I can, okay? I'm just saying out loud. I may not, in the back of my mind, I might be saying, I don't know if they'll be on at the end of the month, but today the lights are on. I can work. I've got a computer that mostly works. I've got a laptop that works pretty well. I've got a kitchen, a fully functioning kitchen right now that, is here. There's a little, you can start thanking Him for little things, and that will expand, and it'll take the place of murmuring and complaining. That was one of the big problems with the children of Israel. We've talked about them a lot lately. When they were going through the wilderness, they just whined and complained about every little thing. We could have just died in Egypt. Why didn't you just leave us there to die? They weren't dying in Egypt, and they longed for oppression and slavery over the freedom that set before them because it was hard, and they complained, and it made it harder when they complained. What if the story read differently? Would they have made it through the wilderness a whole lot faster if they had learned the power of Thanksgiving? What if they had started just thanking God? Oh, they didn't even thank Him for the manna. They were like, we're going to die. We don't have any food. And God goes, I got this. I got this. We talked about that. I got all excited talking about it a couple of weeks ago. I don't think it was last week, maybe the week before, about how God already planned that. He didn't get them out in the middle of the wilderness and go, you don't have any food. Oh, I didn't cover that. I got nothing. He didn't do that. He planned on the manna. He knew He was going to sustain them because He took them out there. He knew He was going to provide everything they needed for that moment because He brought them there. And here they are. We're going to die. We don't have any food. We don't have any, we don't, whatever. We don't have water. We don't have food. And God goes, here's some manna. They didn't say, oh, thank you for the manna. We're going to make it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's take this land. Let's go take the land God gave us. Thank God He's going to sustain us. He is going to sustain us through this wilderness. They didn't use it to encourage themselves. They didn't give thanks for it. They went, well, what about some meat? We ain't got no meat. This is horrible. All we have is this manna that God rains down out of heaven. All I got is what God provides. Man, they just looked for things to complain about. So God gave them quail. Why? I don't know. That's why I'm not God. Right? He gave them quail because they wanted meat too, right? And so they, and so then He said, well, here you go. And He just had a cubbies of quail fly in and die, basically. So they had manna, and then they had quail, so they had their meat. So they were, they didn't want to be vegetarians for a while, I guess, right? And so, but they just complained, and they made the journey harder and actually longer. And even if it didn't shorten the journey, had they had a heart of gratitude instead, it would have made the journey lighter. giving thanks may not change everything immediately. I when I went in there that morning last week and I kissed Chris on the forehead, poor guy, and I said, God, just thank you for getting us through another long night. It didn't make him better immediately, but it made my attitude better and it made the day better. The day wasn't as heavy. And so we can adjust our whole line of thinking from woe is me, I've got everything's bad and I don't know what I'm going to do, and we can do all things without complaining. It's in the Bible, it has to be possible, and I have not mastered it yet, but I will. Do all things without complaining and disputing. Just be quiet and be thankful. If we switch over, and like I said, we don't have to worry so much about turning off the complaining as much as concerning about turning on the thanksgiving, turning on gratitude. And that actually displaces it. It's a lot easier than it sounds. I didn't realize that's what was going to happen to me over the last few weeks when I just went, okay, I'm going to start just being thankful for whatever I can find. And I got to work to find it. And I did work to find it. And I realized that it began to displace. I wasn't going, oh, that's complaining. Stop. Oh, that's just, oh, no, stop. Oh, don't say that. Oh, no, I was just saying, I just began to focus on giving thanks. And this is something I'm learning in the process of learning, right? But as I began to focus on giving thanks and finding things to be thankful for, my attitude changed. I didn't focus on, and I still don't have this down yet, but I'm learning to shift my focus to gratitude, to being thankful. I'm thankful I have food in my fridge this morning. I'm thankful that Chris has supplies for today. I'm frustrated about some things with that. I got two things on my list, but I'm not going to say it because what I'm going to say is I'm thankful I have everything I need for today to take care of Chris and myself. I can be thankful for that instead of fussing about the other, right? And I guess I'm fussing. I would love to do. I've already called one person, and that's a supplier to say, "Why are you doing this?" Right? That's not bad, but murmuring and complaining will make me bitter, and then my situation becomes harder. Nobody wants to be with me. That makes my situation harder, right? But when I turn my heart to looking for ways to bless God, see, God doesn't change when things get hard. There was not anything about God that wasn't the same. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. When the children of Israel were in slavery all those years, God was still on the throne. He had still created everything. He still had peace. He still wanted to pour out blessings on his people. He was still full of power and glory and might and splendor and majesty. Nothing about God was different because they were in slavery. And then when they start discovering him, when they got past the slavery, they couldn't handle it, right? When Daniel went to the lion's den, nothing about God changed. God is still the same. He remains. When Joseph was in the prison all those years, and I was talking with a friend about that this weekend. When Joseph was in prison all those years, nothing about God changed. When you faced or are facing or will face dire circumstances, hard circumstances, tough stuff that life throws at you, God is the same. So we can bless God. I was reading a book this week for the Bible study that I'm a part of on Monday nights, and the writer said he had something really bad happen to him, and I don't remember what that was. And someone said, "Well, you can't preach tonight because this really bad thing happened." And he went, "Well, I'm not preaching about me. I'm preaching about God. So why can't I preach tonight? Why would I not preach tonight? Because I'm not preaching about me. I'm preaching about God, and God doesn't change." Meaning, God doesn't change when we face stuff, right? So when I say I will bless the Lord at all times, his praise will continually be in my mouth. And when things are hard and when you go through trauma, oh my gosh, I got experience and blood on my testimony on this, right? When you go through those experiences, it can be difficult to see the light at the end of that tunnel, right? But if we shift our focus and go, okay, I know God still loves me. I know God still gives me peace. I know God's still watching over me. I know that God is still on the throne, and we begin to bless him. It changes this. It wipes out that bitterness. So today, your assignment is to find things to be thankful for. Every time something comes up in your mind, just find, and you want to complain or you want to fuss, and I do this often, so I have experience here. turn it into, find something to be thankful for. Be thankful for it can be the littlest thing, but it will change your attitude and your expectation of God in the biggest way. And in the middle of that, you can peace out. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.